I'd say it should be a pretty nice jug game here.
It is. The only thing you have to worry about, as you mentioned, is hookshot, canceling your TP. Viper Strike can go through your spin, but you're not going to be affected by it too much. So I think you get a lot of value from the jug here. If you time your spin right, you're not going to get Hex, you're not going to get Impaled. That can break up the initiation of Latam defenders, especially if the hookshot does not connect. So there's going to be an issue of timing there, but Latam defenders do go into the Ursa. And that's actually a really good response to the jug. This is a much harder hitting core early on. This does mean that we're potentially seeing our Ursa go for Battle Fury. That's something SG Esports can exploit by playing a bit faster, making the Ursa's lane as hard as possible to hold down. And if it is a pos 5 clock, Ursa clock can be aggressive. But it really depends on what SG brings out on their end. And the Venomancer is the perfect response. So you've got some good DOT flying out. The Ursa is going to be kited around early on. It's not the most mobile hero, even with that tiny jump on your spell. Not quite enough to really juke around a Veno. So there's a lot of presence already from SG Esports, and they will try to make that lane a hard one for the Ursa.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart Venomancer pick here from SG Esports. I mean, you already talked about the kite ability now with the Veno, but even in those team fights, those Veno wards are just so effective at giving vision to the rest of your team, and I mean, even without the Gale or just the Poison Sting damage on the Ursa, you can still just kite him around with those wards. And it can be quite infuriating for the Ursa. We'll see how they do intend to deal with it on Latam defenders, but I wouldn't say their draft's bad in any sense yet. I still think the Ursa is going to be a very, very strong pick into the jug. It's just going to be a matter of how much impact this Venomancer can have throughout this game up against this Ursa that's going to matter here for SG Esports. And we see the next ban stage starting as well, and SG, they actually ban out the Visage. So really just not wanting to get cheesed here by Latam defenders. Again, they are playing on ping as well, so if cheese picks do come out from the defenders, it's going to be rather hard to try and contest. And they don't really have the most amazing wave clear right now on SG Esports anyway. Especially for those familiars, they can be very, very hard to catch. Even getting rid of the Ember Spirit now. Just not wanting that kind of tempo setting hero. Of course, if Latam defenders did want, they could still go for like a Storm Spirit mid over the Ember. And I think that can still be very, very effective here. But up against the Puck, maybe they decide not to. I believe we saw this in the last series and it was quite devastating for the Storm.
Yeah, I don't think it's the Puck necessarily, but more of the fact that there's an Earth Spirit on hand that would make it difficult for Latam to just pick up a Storm. I believe the last time we saw Puck versus Storm, that actually went pretty well for Ray Lalisa, as he did play the Storm twice there.
Well, that was with the DC, right?
Yeah, that's with
in
the
all
DC,
fairness.
but the laning phase.
Sure.
The laning phase for Ray Lalisa was still good. Like, the Orchid timing was still on point. It's just difficult with an Earth Spirit and a Puck. I don't think it's a clear-cut Storm game. Enigma last pick for SG Esports, so piling on to making that lane hard for Latam. You've got a lot of denies that can fly through as well. Looking like we're seeing that Enigma 5. So it might not actually be in the Ursa lane where to get the denies off. Even if it's going to be, say, the Viper off. If you want EXP, without the range creeps, that EXP is going to take a hard hit. In fact, all the heroes of Latam defenders that could potentially go off do want that EXP gain. So Viper plus line, Viper plus clock, potentially. Not going to have that steady buildup unless our clockwork starts going, or one of those supports starts going for the creep pull early on.
Okay, Latam defenders, they finish it off with a Timbersaw now. Interesting pick to make. I mean, you don't have that much to do with the Timber, but you do still have that Venomancer. You still have the Enigma. Even the control from the Earth Spirit can be quite annoying for the Timbersaw. We'll see how they are going to lane all these heroes. As you definitely want the Veno up against the Ursa if you can. And like you pointed out, it is probably going to be a position 5 Enigma here from KJ. So, see how they do lane it, but which draft do you prefer more? Like, do you think they have enough to deal with this Ursa and this Timber?
I think they do. It's just an issue of timing. A lot rides on King Ao on the off lane. If the Venomancer doesn't slow down Cocohook as much, you're still looking at Ursa's Battle Fury timing lineup, and then from there the farm just takes over, unless Costabile does go for a Battle Fury himself, which would lead to a slower game for both sides, but I believe the Ursa still handily kind of wins. Omni Slash is a long cooldown. The uptime for Enrage is a lot better for the Ursa, as the game goes on. Even with a Swift Slash, it's not quite the same. So if Latam can get that start for Cocohook, you can get off to the running start. But I think SG Esports have enough on hand to play aggressive. They've got Venomancer, they've got Earth Spirit, they've got the Enigma down the line, although we have seen Pos 5 Enigma struggle. But I think in this game, there's not as much pressure on KJ to really get those big black holes. It's more on the Veno, more on the Earth Spirit to find those early openings and to make this game hard. For Latam's end, just getting a good start for Cocohook is big, but Valky as well on the Timbersaw has to be able to be annoying. He needs to be able to force a response to his lane, force people to come in, and he also needs some time to build up into his own early Hood of Defiance at the least to withstand a lot of this magic damage. If he doesn't find those timings himself, we have seen Timbersaw end up being a bit of a dead hero if his spike isn't met.
Well, let's see how this game number 1 does pan out between these two teams. SG Esports up against Latam Defenders. Yeah, going to start with an immediate pause, which I've got to say I'm not going to be too surprised if there's quite a bit of pausing going on throughout this game because, again, they are going to be playing on 2 different servers throughout the series, so one of the teams is always going to have a bit of a lag disadvantage going their way. Looks like for now, of course, it is going to be SG Esports, but we'll see how long it does last. Tips coming out early on.
If you scroll up through the chat log, you can see there were already a lot of disconnects as well from, I believe, the draft. So hopefully those connection issues don't, yeah, a lot. Hopefully it doesn't continue. But again, I believe there's some chat in lobby, and the connection for Brazil into Peru is not very good. So yeah, it's just something they've got to deal with. They will have these favorable server in game 2 as it will switch to Brazil. So maybe Latam Defenders has an issue connecting later on. It's just going to switch around. Hopefully not. But with how the lines are in South America, you know, it is what it is.
Absolutely. So we didn't talk about this too much, but with this Enigma last pick, you don't really have much to cancel the black hole this game. Really, all you've got is Impale and Hookshot. And even then, if he does manage to get a BKB up, you've only got Hookshot to really get through that BKB black hole. That could be a very, very effective kind of scenario there for KJ on this Enigma. Especially if he manages to just catch the Clockwork or the Lion in this black hole, you're pretty much safe. Of course, later on, maybe an Abyssal Blade comes out for Cocohook, but that's going to be a while away anyway, so these initial black holes that do come out of this position 5 Enigma could be very effective.
Yeah, it definitely would be. We'll just see if they prioritize that. Still a bit of a scuffle for the bounties, but are they can commit? Doesn't look like Aretas just wants to walk up there.
I don't think it's very safe for him. That being said, they've given away 3 bounty runes. In fact, it might be 4. Costa Bila is going to go for the other. That's a 4 bounty rune start now for SG Esports.
You see this? You see?
That's not a great start at all for Latam Defenders.
No, that's a lot of gold they're giving out. Just pretty much, what's that, 160 gold coming out. That's a lot to give out. That's going to help out Costa Bila hold his lane off. It is going to start as a solo lane for Valky. So Timbersaw level 1, not amazing. There's not much going to be flying out here, of course, as it's still kind of hard to close in and just go for the spin. But KJ should have free run to just control this lane, get some good damage off, and Valky's already forced to just go for reactive in order to stand around and try to soak some EXP.
Yeah, but top lane, John, King L is going to go down. A first blood occurring already for the Dire side. A very, very nice start after those bounty runes were given up. Now even Theo has been caught trying to go for the pull away. Does block his own large camp, and he's still going to be able to get away with the creep wave, so not all is lost. I think he's going to be just fine, but Moonlight is just going to keep up the harassment here. Trying to make them feel very, very uncomfortable, and Eridus, it looks like he's not really leaving on the clock either. He's going to stick around and try to be a nuisance as well. As I suppose as the Timbersaw down to the bot lane, you don't really need the Clockwork to be down here to help you out, nor do you need the Lion. They really can't do too much anyway against this Enigma position 5 and Pos 1 Jug.
No, and this is the kind of start you want for the Latam Defenders. They're getting a lot of farm, a lot of space out here for Koldo.
Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble, but of course KJ only level 1 so far, could not go for the stun, and And Costabile, he'll still be perfectly fine with this. I mean, he's just freely farming up on the jug. In any scenario where your position 1 can just free farm like this is going to make your team pretty darn happy. Because Valky is going to start trying to get some harassment out, but Costabile looks like he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, it's starting to be an annoying lane to hold though, now that level 2 is up. Once Valky hits level 3 with potentially reactive level 2 up, that becomes a uncontestable Timbersaw for the most part, although...
Yeah, top lane, Theo ends up dropping this time. While I look away, Valky does drop down to the bot lane, so they make the bit of a trade there. Costabile with that level 1 spin, able to pick up the kill. In fact, it was KJ who got the last hit, but regardless, they got the Timber. And it makes you wonder, is it more worthwhile for SG Esports or the Latam defenders? Because the way I see it is, you are still having 3 heroes up towards this top lane, which is going to mean less XP for your supports. And as well as that, it is a Timbersaw dying over a position 4 Earth Spirit.
Yeah, it hurts Latam a bit more, mainly because they're slowing down their their Lion and their Clockwork. So the EXP gain, as you mentioned, is just so slow. Moonlight's stuck at level 1. And we talk about the level 6 timing of Lion being so important. He's not going to find that speedily here. Sure, they're slowing down King Ao, and Teal Licor is also stuck at 1. But it is coming with the boon of giving a pretty free start for Costabile, and Valky just not getting as much as he'd want to on the bot lane. So I think the trade-offs work out for SG overall. It's tying in the supports as well to free up mid, which is actually going fairly well for Nana right now. Like, the Viper is just having a good time against the puck. You're not seeing the same advantages the puck tends to have early on. Just a huge difference in last hits. But for the R, because those supports might not be able to go out, may be able to snag Urun, and that should help him bounce this lane back, although none of his supports are quite in the air yet, although KJ is here at the least.
Oh, he's got the Eidolons there, just to be able to deny off the rune if necessary. Moonlight going to roll in. Theo is the one that actually rolled in. Moonlight going to go for the Impale, but they should be able to kill off this Lion, and he's still only level 1. There's no way out for him. And it's going to be a nice pick up there for 40R. Good rotation there from Theo. Just to roll through the illusion rune to pick it up, and well, after the rune was down, your line was just kind of a sitting duck.
Yeah, and this is big. It allows a jungle invasion for KJ. So he sees the stacks built up. He can go and contest, clear out some while he can. And that's a huge loss for Latam. They invest a lot in the top lane. They try to maximize value with stacks. Losing even just 1 stack here is a big, painful setback for the side of Latam defenders.
It's going to be annoying, but KJ, of course, with the level 2 Eidolons, isn't really doing that much damage. The Moonlight is going to rotate in and spot all this happening, but look at the damage he's taking from these Eidolons. He might... No, he won't die. Eridus is going to rotate in on the Clockwork and should be able to get the courier of KJ, but he can't do it with the Eidolons either. They are going to wear off soon, but they're both taking a hell of a lot of damage here. KJ, can he deny himself off? Not quite. They are going to get the kill eventually, but it's going to cost them a Viper. Nana tried to make the rotation up, but 40R cut him off. Of course, Theo Licor was there as well in the Earth Spirit, and they do end up getting a Viper kill.
And that's a bigger one. They just find a favorable heroes to pick off here on the side of SG. Latam are finding some consolation prizes, not enough to offset those bigger losses. They still hold a slight net worth lead, though. Less than 1k up for Latam. That's down to the fact that Cocohook does have a much freer lane than Costabile. So they invest in the tri-lane. It is paying off for their Ursa, finding some early farm, a level up compared to King Ao. And that does mean that the spikes that the Venmancer wants to meet to counteract the Ursa aren't quite there. That should relieve some of that pressure for the Ursa. But Costabile is also not being harassed too badly here by Valky. Valky only has the Soul Ring up for the mana spam, and
Mid lane, he's being chased down again. Unfortunately, they did not connect the spin nor the kick away, or rather the roll and kick away. Top lane, Cocohook is trying to chase down Mr. King Ao, but look at this, the speed he's walking at right now, John. It's a slow kind of chase here. Eridus does manage to get the Battery Assault into the Cogs, and they might just have the Veno now. He's going to try and make a run, and the Cogs pushback may have actually helped him, but no. The Battery Assault was still there by Eridus, and they do get the kill, but now Theo Licor is going to rotate in with a Boulder Smash. Does still have the roll, and it's like 40R. Just going to commit the Dream Core to make sure they get the kill. Cocohook, though, going to try and turn around now on the Ursa, along with Moonlight. It is end up going to just be end up being a 1-for-1. That'll be enough for both teams.
Yeah, it costs a puck rotation for DR though, and that is time for the Viper to just soak down mid, still having that good last hit advantage over the puck despite that one death. There is some room for Telecor to soak on this Earth Spirit, but not too much. They are really even across the board, still 4-4, less than 1k lead, still being held up by Latam defenders. Key thing is that Kokohook is looking like he will get that right into the Battle Fury. Fairly straightforward, so not enough commitment up top to slow the Ursa. They're banking on their Jug to have that same timing. Costabile is going for the Maelstrom though, so since he's not going for the farming build, they're going to have to be aggressive as much as possible when Costabile does have this item up.
I think with a greedy draft like this, I think it's better that you go for that kind of early fighting / farming build with the Maelstrom anyway on the Jug. It's probably not necessary to try and go into the Battle Fury this game for Costabile. To go for the spin TP now away from Valky. Back towards his tier 2 tower. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Moonlight once again being caught out. This time 40R the one to take the kill. That'll be a dominating spree now on the puck. It's always around that top power rune that he ends up dying on that line. Still level 3 as well at 8.5 minutes in, so not the healthiest progression here for this line.
No, it's really a slower start than out, I think.
Trouble, Dreamcore going to be committed. He's going to try and cog and buy some time, but the orb's going to fly through, and they should have plenty of damage output to make sure he does go down, but maybe not. Nana now going to rotate in along with Moonlight, and they just can't get the kill. Oh, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a lot of commitment. They do get the Earth Spirit in the end. Nana's going to enjoy that a lot on his Viper, building into the Dragonlance. So once you have that, more stats, more range for your poison attack as well. And not quite the outcome SG wanted. Of course, giving out Teleport is not the biggest loss, but still a pretty healthy pickup for Latam to find, as they do, again, keep things even. The Viper is getting a lot of space out. He did manage to clear out the stacks. So despite scouting out early on, they could not contest. That does give a good gold boon here for Latam.
Bot lane though, Valky going to be chased down now on the Timber. Omni committed. He has a lot of armor with that reactive armor, but 40R is here with the magic damage. They will eventually be able to pick him off. Of course, an immediate TP back into the mid lane to try and defend that tier 1 tower. Moonlight, he was looking for a quick hex out on this puck, but he couldn't quite get in range for one. And instead, might have to rotate for those 10-minute bounty runes, but now the roll in is not going to pan out in Theo's favor. Nana's still around with the Viper Strike back onto 4DR, but the Dream Claw is going to be thrown out as well into the kick onto the high ground, but he does not break the coil, and 4DR is still dying to the damage, but he is barely going to survive. Meanwhile, more rotated Mr. King out coming in onto Nana, but KJ is the one falling and will die. Meanwhile, Nana does TP out in the nick of time. King out is not going to be so lucky. He will die to Valky. Eridus might go down to these Eidolons. But no, they don't have enough damage output. And Latam defenders, they're making moves across the map and they're still holding them to this net worth lead.
And this is exactly what they need to get done. They've hit their spikes. With the Timbersaw, he's already got the Hood of Defiance, so he's so much more tanky up front. The magic damage is going to take a lot more commitment to find that kill. And Kokohook has all the space in the world up top. Like, he's just being allowed to farm into this Battle Fury with no contestation. And he's fairly close to it. He's just going to grab the Void Stone, going to be a Claymore away. And once he has that, the farm really shoots up. Even the damage in team fights, if he wants to join, can really kick in with that cleave. So you will have to watch that here. And SG should maybe start setting their eyes up top instead. They do have level 6 up in KJ as well. So you have Black Hole Axis ready to go. It's just that they only really have Dream Coil ready to follow up with.
And that's great TP timing from Kokohook. Just realizing that there were too many heroes missing off the map. Instead, they'll try onto the mid lane with a Black Hole being committed onto the Timber, but a hook shot is on point by Eridus. They get the Enigma, they'll find the Earth Spirit, and now Costabile is in massive, massive trouble as Moonlight does get the finger off. That's 3 heroes going down, plus a mid-tier 1 tower. Amazing rotation from Latam defenders.
Yeah, they make it work. Aretas just finds the positioning out to get that hook. As you mentioned, it's not an easy Enigma game to just get the black hole off if these supports are just left unwatched. And all of a sudden, a 4K lead comes out for Latam. They are 6-11. They take the mid-tier 1, so that relieves a lot of pressure on their jungle, allows them to be applying that pressure if they want to. And SG, that was the first black hole. On cooldown for a very long time for KJ. They're not going to have that follow-up next. And they're just going to have to try to work this map as best as possible. The issue is, so many of your heroes are farming. King Ao is in the triangle, farming up those camps. Costabile doesn't have a lane to go up to except top. That's being shoved in. So he's not safe anywhere, really, to find that farm that he wants to on this jug.
He's going to rotate up towards the top lane. Yaki already pushed that top tier 1 tower in, and should really be the other way around here for Costabile, but he's got to be careful. There's a lot of heroes up here. They do have the hook up. They can make the jump in if they want onto that jug. So Costabile is going to back off anyway. Not too concerned about this top lane for now. They've just got to buy more time. Just got to buy more space here for this jug. It is kind of scary though when Kukulhook already has the Battle Fury timing up on the Ursa.
Yeah, and they smoked under a ward here, SG. So Latam just immediately back out. Kukulhook goes to safety. And the rotation's not going to amount to a big pick-off. They might still find someone down mid. They only really have Nana to jump onto. And Nana is fairly squishy here. Only has the Dragonlance, so a little bit more strength. Should still be manageable, but they're going to have to commit a lot of spells out. And there's still some TP access points there for Latam. All of their TPs are up. They can get their timely to counteract if they do commit too hard. So probably not going to find any good opportunities here for SG.
No, I'd say this is a very risky play to make if they do go onto the Viper. They might just rotate back into that mid-tier 1 tower and instead try to focus on that. But I would dare say if they try to kill the Viper, they are probably just going to get rotated on and they will probably die in the process of trying to kill him off. It's not like you have King Al very far away either on the Veno. I mean, he's right behind that tier 1 as we speak, so very, very dangerous predicament here for SG Esports. Just judging by where the Eidolons are going, I am really just thinking they're going for that tier 1 mid tower instead. Still, only time will tell us. We do have to wait out the pause before we really find out. It's going to be very hard to defend this if you are going to commit to this tier 1 top tower instead, if you are the Latam defenders. But considering they already got the mid tier 1 tower themselves, maybe they don't really care too much about evenly trading those towers.
Yeah, I think overall you're still getting what you want here for Latam, even if this tower falls. They are going to commit so many heroes, and it's not going to be enough to defend, and they clear out the tree line just to prevent an TP. Still, they are going to come in for the defense.
Yeah, I mean, Valky already got that top tier 1, so he actually has plenty of time to come defend this. And I think SG Esports are very well aware that they're not in a position to fight right now. So back to the side lanes, Costabile going to farm top. However, towards this bot side jungle, hookshot is going to be on point. Aridus, very, very nice. Optimistic King Ao, and looks like he is going to end up going down to Moonlight on the Lion. They just really can't get anything off this map. SG Esports, they are in a bit of a pickle here. Even 4DR is barely going to manage to TP out on the puck, but they are going to lose that bottom tier 1 tower, it looks like. Dream Coil.
Oh.
Mid lane, Leash has been broken, but they get the Malefice onto Nana with the roll in and the Boulder Smash, but Nana is still a bit too tanky. He's going to survive.
That is not good news. They drag a lot of heroes in. They couldn't quite get the chase off properly, so Nana just gets to walk away. They lose their bot tier 1, and suddenly all the tier 1s are gone here for the side of SG. Map has shrunk just a bit more. They've got some good wards to maintain control on their bot jungle, but Latam is going to be looking for a lot of farm all over the place. So much space for Kukulhook to just get the farm up, rushing the BKB next. And once you have this BKB on the Ursa, there is nothing to worry him beyond the black hole. And that is bad news for SG. They've got so many heroes dependent on magic damage. Their Puck wants to just jump in, get the burst off. Their Venomancer is not going to have impact once the BKBs are up as well.
Top lane, Omni has been committed. Kukulhook just going to pop the Enrage and now turn back around onto Costabile, who tries to TP. just so much damage output from the Ursa already, and Nana just came in and helped him out a little bit. I don't even think the Ursa needed it though.
No. No, and that's the issue of Jug into Ursa. Like, you commit Omni, you don't have enough damage to rip through something like the Ursa at this point, and Rage flies on, and then suddenly you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time. The damage reduction is just way too big for the Jug to deal with solo. So a bit keen there, and that's a big here to lose. 6k lead now for Latam as, you know, they're starting to collapse onto mid, and this could be a bad spot as Hookshot is up here for Aretes.
It certainly is. Look, we're having some Discord issues now for SG Esports, so we'll have to wait those out. Very, very poor predicament for SG right now. 6-13, 6k net worth lead behind. Side of Latam or Latam Defenders, excuse me. I do agree with your sentiment as well. I mean, Cook with that BKB, he's going to be such a major issue if he isn't already. I just don't really see them being able to slow him down any longer. They've got no tier 1 towers left to play around either. And this should be a surefire hookshot here for Aretes. Whether he wants to go onto Theo or whether he wants to go for Mr. King Owl, but I assume the Venomancer is going to be the better pick to go on.
Yeah, it would be. Issue is they're slightly blind. I don't believe Valky is in vision range as well. But even if they don't find that kill, they can just wait. The blink is coming out for Moonlight. It's flying in on the courier, and the line blink is met. It was a slower start for the tri lane. Regardless, Moonlight's got his item timings. This is where it gets really worrisome for SG. You've got Timbersaw zipping around. You've got a hook shot that can come in, and now you've got Blink Hex to break all of that up as well. And it's just a lot of options here for Latam to find their angles and get the pickoffs they want.
Oh, hell yes.
Still going to have to wait a bit longer. I was quite surprised to see the Moonlight Blink Dagger was already available, considering the start he had on this line. Very impressive kind of catch-up, and indeed you were correct, by the way, John. They did not make the jump onto the Veno because they could not see him. But they do end up seeing 40R. Hook shot, it's perfect on target from Aretes. They take him out. It's a great angle he found there on the clockwork, and now Valky's trying to go after KJ. They're not going to be able to find another, but I like the fact that Aretes took the time to walk around and find the appropriate angle to get the hook shot on the puck. And that was pretty much maximum length he got that hook on as well.
Oh man, and he's zoning them out for the Roche as well. They know it's happening, but how do you stop an Ursa with a Viper? With a Timbersaw to tank through, you just can't without the puck. They could try a black hole from outside, but they just don't have the time.
Nana now just going to run straight into the Veno, and it's poison versus poison, but it looks like the Viper is looking a lot stronger as they do kill off, but the black hole is there, still cancelled off immediately by the Hex of the Lion. Aretes, he's going to die for this, but it's not really going to matter, especially if they find Costabile. And it looks like Cook is committed to trying to get this jug, but he does lose the Aegis first. Meanwhile, Valky is also dropping low and does die, and perhaps they've gone a little bit too far. So the buyback was also there from Thea Lacour. And Cook, he's been left alone. He's going to die for this. So a great start to this team fight, but they drag it out a bit too long, and eventually SG Esports do manage to punish him for it.
Yeah, that's a deep overextension from Latam. SG can be happy with what they've taken, basically negating the Roche. They're still 6k behind, but that's a huge hit to take on Latam as they had the lead. They gave off a lot of kills. There was a buyback committed, however, on SG, but I'm sure they don't mind too much. SG, however, can't fully transition to a full-blown push as the respawns are low enough that they are up in time here on the Latam defenders to defend. They could go again if they want.
Aretes really wanted that haste through, and he may pay for it with his life, but they might find the puck in return. And they do. 40R. Does end up dropping, so a well worthwhile trade for Latam defenders. Is now King has also been caught out, but looks like the Malefice onto Valky is going to be enough to dissuade him from going any further, or maybe not. He's still trying. Costabile is showing himself, and instead they're going to go onto Moonlight. Impale is going to be committed onto Theo, but it is not going to be enough. So eventually, King Yao does manage to get the kill. Very interesting set of events occurring in this game number 1. Still feels like it's favoring Latam defenders, though, each time they go into these fights.
It really does. I mean, the BKB is still going to be flying out for Cook. They've got to be a bit more disciplined around this line, although...
Roll in onto Eridus. With the Omni Slash, they'll have enough, but they haven't got enough for Valky, surely. Unless Dreamcall is there with the Midnight Pulse, and he is burning through it. They kill off the Liquor, but Nana now is going to be in danger as Costa Bile is not done. But here comes Cook with a double impale out from Moonlight, and that is so much damage from Cook. Not proving to be enough yet for KJ, but they do eventually kill him off. Just off that double impale, you saw how much damage he can get with that Battle Fury cleave. They might even find 4DR. He's not out of the woods yet. He gets impaled up. Rocket Flare will give vision, and Finger is going to be committed. Moonlight just waited for it.
Oh, beautiful. You love to see it. Moonlight having a fantastic time. And even in that scuffle for the rune spot, I'm not sure if you caught it, but 4DR, he was actually phase shifted, but he went out right as the impale was flying. And it's small misplays like that in the puck that can really cost you. And it's just good punishment coming out here from Moonlight. Overall, Latam defenders, with that set of pickoffs, find themselves up now with a 7k lead. BKB up on Cook. He can just stand in front, force these fights. He's going for the BKB next, so he knows he has this big advantage. He wants to force it forward, and the BKB is not going to take too long, as the rest of Latam are now just looking to control that bot lane. They are sort of slowing down in the build-up in Valky, but it's still a good point. Like, Valky's still having more farm than 4DR, and the Timbersaw out-farming a puck is not the best situation here for SG.
No, it is not. Now going to try and invade this Dire jungle. They aren't going to have too many issues doing so, as nobody is there from Latam defenders. But they're getting a tier 2 bottom tower, so they're not going to be too upset about it. And I don't really see a trade of these towers happening, because they haven't really even started on that top tier 2 yet. They're just getting started now. There's plenty of time to go for a defense if they so wish. It looks like they will, as they do smoke up as a team. They're going to run their way up towards the north, towards that top lane. They might run straight into KJ to get things started. And just removing that Enigma is going to be a pretty nice feeling going into this team fight. KJ, no way of surviving that, does go down. And they find a bit more. Theo, gonna roll. Eridus gonna try and chase him down. Does get the battery assault off onto this Earth Spirit. Nice impel there from Moonlight, gonna lock him down and make sure he can't roll away. And eventually they will be able to kill him off. I suppose the only bright side there for SG Esports is they did manage to finish off that tier 2 top tower, but that's it. There's not really much else to it.
They sacrificed their supports to get that done. It's still a lot of gold coming out for Latam defenders, and they lost their tier 2 bot anyway. So in terms of objectives and even trade, a win for Latam in terms of pickoff, and they're just riding steady. They are working towards more items on their other cores as well. We're seeing the Hurricane Pike being saved up for Nana, and once that's up, he can just force staff himself away from these sticky situations. Would have maybe preferred a BKB on the Viper, considering that the silence is kind of ruining him here. But for the most part, it's been a steady game for Nana up front. We're also seeing the Lotus Orb being built in here for Valky, and that's also set to come out in a timely manner. So that all of that just complicates how SG wants to approach it. They don't have enough control to hold back Latam defenders, and Latam, they know this. They just smoke up again.
Yeah. AK no earthly, there's no reason for them to back off. They've got the blink up on Cook as well, so the chances are he's not going to be able to be kited in this team fight. They've got to find their way into that Radiant Triangle. Mr. King Ao is going to be there to try and break this smoke, and he does, but it may cost him his life. So they get the Hex off, and they'll get the kill very easily. Hook shot, not going to land onto Thea Liquor from Eridus. But they got the triangle now. This is going to mean SG Esports, they farm that much slower.
Yeah, they limit themselves in where they can play. Costabile at least still has his bot jungle, but that's under a pretty good ward here, watching the tail end of that. So they know where he's at farming. They can pressure this tier 2 mid, and they catch one out.
KJ on the Enigma. You land one poison poison attack on him from Nana, and he's basically gone. Just no real way out for him. That'll be a tier 2 mid tower also dropping here from Latam defenders as they do move up towards the high ground. I mean, why not? You're this far ahead. You can afford to do this. And they're being very greedy about this as Cookahawk and Moonlight, they've backed off with the smoke. They're going to try and find a pick off onto the Jug. But he is not in their own jungle. Dream Coil going to be committed. Kick as well, but it's not going to break the coil. But it looks like they should have enough damage, surely, to kill off this Timber. But no. Valky just chains away. They're going to continue the roll, trying to chase him down. But that means Thea Lacour is just going to die. His team was nowhere near. Luckily for them, Eridus, he does hook a creep. So they could not get any more follow-up kills, but it's just looking so bad here for SG Esports.
It's difficult. On the high ground, at least they have this black hole from KJ. Issue is, he doesn't have a BKB. So even if he gets a black hole off, you do have to worry about the hook. You've got to worry about the Blink Impale, the Blink Hex. All of that is going to be a massive issue in terms of the defense. They're going to try to get a chase down. They know Nana's alone, and the Viper isn't very mobile, so they might be able to punish this.
They don't have a Dream Coil though, John. I just don't see a way of them locking him down. He's going to be fine. King Al's going to give up on it. He'll go towards the top tower to start defending that. It is their final outer tower after all. Meanwhile, for Latam defenders, it feels like you just wait for the next Roshan. You can keep getting pickoffs here and there, but you're not going to go high ground until you get that Roshan. And Eridus, a nice hook shot in, straight onto that Earth Spirit, but the Cogs is not going to be so perfect. Still, Cookahawk going to make his way in with the Blink Dagger, and Thea Lacour is still going to die. Now Costa Bile, maybe he doesn't want to be here any longer. They have the black hole, but how do you commit it? It's your buyback on Theo. Meanwhile, Dream Coil is on the right side on Moonlight, but he's going to be able to blink away. Still, the chase continues. Nice roll in from the Lacour. Na might just be dead here on the Viper, and it looks like he will go down. So not a bad team fight for SG Esports. They might be able to actually secure this mid-tier 1 now.
It's been alive for way too long. They do find it in the end at least, so nice set of kills, nice objective to take. Still holding on to the black hole. They've got an option for a bigger team fight.
Boy, Costa Bile, he got blown up. That was a Hex Finger out from Moonlight, and Cookahawk just finishes him off. After Thea Lacour, Moonlight does eventually die to the poison damage out from King Al, but they have control for 4DR. Now Mr. King Al trying to run, but Eridus is there with the Cogs and the Battery Assault. Cookahawk, he's going to be fine. King Al, he might actually kill Eridus. And it looks like he is going to be able to get away with this kill. As Valky wanted to chase him down, but instead he's going to go after KJ. Cookahawk, he's just been waiting for his blink to be off cooldown this whole time to be able to take the kill himself, and he does.
I go now to the river to wash your blood from
And so ultimately it still works out in the favor of Latam defenders. In SG Esports, they do get some kills for their trouble.
Yeah, it's a bit messier for Latam. They drop a couple of heroes here and there. They have stalled out long enough that Roche is going to be up. And this is very well timed from Cookahawk walking up. Stay around! It's going to spawn! No, he doesn't. Should still know it. Roche is going to be up now. So they've got access to that as, yes, Valky is responsible and checks for the team. So Roshan number 2, Aegis and Cheese. And SG, they've got Black Hole. The issue is, can they find a position in time? It doesn't look like it as Roche just melts.
There's no way. They've scanned it out, but it means nothing. Cook and take the Aegis, gives the cheese over to Na. Of course, they'll go after that final outer tower, which is going to be that top tier 2. I'd say for Latam defenders, while they have to worry about the black hole, once KJ is dead, there's not really much else to worry about for them. I'm thinking Latam defenders do probably want to go high ground very, very soon. Maybe just even wait out the Abyssal Blade on Cookahawk first before you do go for that high ground play. But they are at least going to go for that top tier 2 first.
Yeah, and there's not going to be a defense out from SG. Just no point holding outside anymore with the Aegis and Cheese up. They just want to play high ground. That's where their strength lies. That's where they've got the black hole plus the dream coil on top. Maybe you can get a good magnetize off as well. And that's what they're going to be banking on now. A lot is riding on the back of KJ to find the angles, to try and find these black holes. The issue is, again, without a BKB, it's very hard to find those comfortable black holes. So he's got to keep his spacing out perfectly. He's got to wait for the right moment, and Latam defenders just have a lot more leeway. They're just allowed to farm up like this. As you mentioned, the Abyssal's basically done for Cookahoo. Does buy it out, and it's just flying up to him now. There it is, already set to go. And this Ursa is just a massive issue that you don't really have a good answer for beyond Black Hole.
Yeah, I mean, that Elven Tunic he does have as well is going to make it that much harder to kill him off with all the added evasion, and the attack speed can be very nice for the Ursa. So they're going to be patient. They have plenty of time with this Aegis. As I say that, they do try to make a jump onto Valky. Valky with the Lotus Orb and Yule Scepter is going to be pretty darn safe. I suppose as long as you don't let SG Esports leave their base, you know they're not farming at all. That appears to be the objective here, as they do spawn out Cookahawk, but he makes the Abyssal Blade play onto the puck, but it's not going to be enough yet. 40R going to be okay, as this Ursa is dropping very low and does die. But 40R does also go down, and unlike the Ursa, he does not have an Aegis. Valky going to go in now, a nice hook shot from Eridus, pushing back the Feno. That's going to be another nice pick off.
Oh, Aretas, man, finds the angle again onto the high ground to find that key pick off, and that's just going to open up the push. They pop Fortify. There is no Aegis, so maybe Cookahawk plays it a bit safer this time around. But I still don't think you worry. You've got your BKB ready. You've got Enrage ready. They're just going to go ahead and force the objective. And oh, KJ.
Yeah, they've got a Hex out onto KJ, and he's just going to die. Which is not the best Enigma game you've ever seen. It is a very, very difficult game for him, as he is going to buy back. And this could be the final kind of defense to go for here for SG Esports if they do engage in a team fight. Cookahawk, he's just going to back out. No reason to stick around, as just go to the next lane. Valky looks like he's ready to back off as well, and Theolacor could not catch him out. I think you're pretty happy with that. I mean, you force a KJ buyback. You got the mid-melee barracks anyway. Not really much to be upset about here. Or Latam defenders.
No. They are smoked up on SG though. They still want to force something here.
They're going to try 40R. He's going to go for a Dream Coil, but how do you kill this Timbersaw? Especially when his team's right behind him, and Cookahawk going straight after the Enigma does get the dieback on KJ. Now onto the Junk. They want that Junk dead, and with the bash, they definitely get it. Valky, he's going to drop, but at what cost? Theolacor also going to die. 40R, I mean, he gets a double kill, but it's not going to matter. The GG has been called. And it'll be quite a dominant victory out for the Latam defenders for game number 1. We'll see if SG Esports can force the game number 2 victory for themselves, as we are going to be switching over to the Brazilian server now.
Yeah, and that was a really good showing for Latam defenders. Like, maybe there was a ping advantage. To what extent, of course, we don't know. But they managed to work it out. Remember, the last time these two teams met each other in the DPC, Latam did take a 2-0 loss. So just showing up here in game 1, getting that clean win, buying the space out for Cookahawk. It looked shaky early on, forcing that trial lane out. They got their stacks scouted out, but SG could not follow up from that build-up. And they just allowed an Ursa to farm up freely into the BKB, into those timings. And when you have this pause 5 Enigma, it just doesn't find farm fast enough in most cases. And when it can't find a BKB up against a clock, up against a line, you just don't have the angle for the black holes.
Well, with that, John, assuming there's no updates for Dota, we are going to be back in 10 minutes for game number 2 between these two teams. Till then, it's MLP Dota and JohnXFire. We'll see you all again very, very soon for that game number 2.